Welcome to a special meeting of the Senior Caucus. We've been calling it a therapy meeting. And the whole idea is I'm pretty sure that all of us who are going to be attending this meeting were sort of blindsided and thrown into a great depression as the results. And I thought what we ought to do is we ought to get together and just talk about it. Talk about our experiences since the election, our hopes for after the election, without going into finger pointing and without getting angry. So we'll do that in a few minutes. And as soon as we have some more people in, we'll start. I'll introduce the rest of the officers that have joined us, the officers of the Senior Caucus, and I'm not 100% sure they're all in yet either, so we'll give it a couple minutes before we start the festivities. Oh, and we're going to play a game that I think you'll enjoy. In fact, you may remember that we used to, incidentally, we have Donna Smith with us, who is, I'm calling her the Executive Director Emerita of PDA. And she's going to talk to us about, what we ought to do to feel better and what we ought to hold off on doing to not screw ourselves up. But anyway, up until about a year ago, we used to have what you might want to call an icebreaker, although we had it at the end of the meeting. And that icebreaker consisted of somebody that Donna knows, named Dr. Bill, who would sing, and he would have a sing-along at the end of the meetings. And if you remember that, raise your hand. I'm just curious as to how many people attended those meetings. Okay, well, one in any case. And I think that an icebreaker is worthwhile, and we'll do that in just a couple of minutes. So I think that the next thing that we should do while we're waiting for people to come in is start introducing the officers of the Senior Caucus. And I'm going to read it off of a list because I forget even my own name on occasion. So my name is Mike Thaller. I'm the chair. I've been the chair for, I guess it's been 2 years, maybe a little more. I'm from San Diego County. And I was a DNC convention delegate representing my congressional district. Val, are you here? If so, introduce yourself. Val is our vice chair of the North. Oh, Val. Okay, we'll come back to Val. Carol, I see you're already up, so go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Carol Taylor. So I'm the treasurer of the Senior Caucus. Hi, nice to see you guys. I'm really glad you're all here. Thank you.
Okay. Next up on my list is Dottie. Dottie, so if you're here, I think you are. No, you're not. Okay, never mind. Janine, are you here?
Janine's here. Hi, everyone. Happy Saturday. And I'm Southern Vice Chair, and I am in the Los Angeles area.
Okay. And we have our secretary, Howard. Howard, unmute and a brief introduction, please.
Yes, hi. I don't know if you hear me. I'm Howard Eggerman. I'm from Northern California. And I'm glad to be here because I almost was blown away by a bomb cyclone in Oakland yesterday.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Everybody's okay. Interesting, just as an aside, the worst hit part of the state was Eureka, California, where Humboldt State is. And that happens to be where Rusty, the chair of the party, lives. I wonder if he's okay. Anyway, next up, we did Carol. Angelica, are you here? Yeah, she is. Go ahead. So unmute and introduce yourself.
Hi there. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm Angelica Moyes, and I'm also from the LA area, currently serving as communications director for the caucus.
Okay. Yeah, I was just checking to make sure I wasn't muted. I noticed that Val did come in. So Val, if you could unmute yourself and just give a brief introduction where you're from and what your title is and all that kind of stuff. But you do need to unmute first, and you did. Well, you're unmuted, but I'm not hearing you.
What's up?
There you go. I heard you something. Go ahead. Introduce yourself, Val. Okay.
Okay, sure. I'm Val Mahowski, and I'm the vice president of the Senior Caucus for the Northern area. And I'm very involved in politics, and it's been great fun this year, except at the end. But we'll also have a chance to weep and wail and really tell our stories.
Yeah, that's what this
Working for 40 years to get a woman president. Still haven't made it yet.
Okay, so who did we miss? Dottie. Dottie, have you shown up? No, she has not. Okay, in that case, just as sort of an experiment, as an icebreaker. And if it goes well, we'll do this at every meeting, and we'll start off doing it with the officers so you can get to know the officers. But then we'll get into the regular membership. And it has a name, and it's called the game. It's called Would I Lie to You? And what it is each one of the three people that volunteered to do this come up with three things about themselves, three things that's happened in their life. And it's their choice. Either two of them can be true and one of them made up, or the other way around. One true and two made ups. So who would like to start of the three that we have? Okay. Who wants to start?
I nominate you, Mike.
What'd you say?
I nominate you.
Okay, I accept the nomination. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'll tell you about three things about myself, and then we'll have everybody vote by raising their hands which one they think, in my case, is false. Two of them will be true. So the first one is I come from a very political family. In fact, I have a cousin who was lieutenant governor of Missouri, and he ran for governor of Missouri during the transition period when Missouri became a red state. It was very blue when I lived there. Once I left, though, it went to pot. In any case, so I went to the University of Missouri in 1967 in the dark ages and had to pick a major. So I thought, I know, I'll be an engineer. So I was an engineering major who only took one class at that my first semester that related to being an engineer. And it was analytic geometry or some math thing. I don't remember. But I also took a political science course because I was interested in political science. On the first test of my analytic geometry class, I got a 0 at the midterm. I didn't just flunk, I got a 0.
Oh, wow.
And they gave me the option of trying to stick it out and flunking, or dropping the course. So I dropped the course so that I wouldn't become, well, in either case, I would become draftable. If you remember, you had a student deferment, but if you didn't take enough hours, you lost your deferment. So I was also taking though a political science course, Poli Sci 101, and I never attended classes. But I kept up on when the tests were. I never read the book. So I took that first test and got an A on it without ever studying or anything. And I decided, you know what, maybe I should switch to being a poli-sci major, which is what I did. And I ended up then with a bachelor's degree in political science and a master's degree in political science. So that's story one. Story two is in about 1983. I got in an argument with Mother Teresa. I won't go into the details, except that it was through a translator, and I won the argument. So I figure that I'm eventually going to hell. So that's story number two. And number three is in 2001 on September 11th, I was living in Nigeria, Lagos, the capital. And when 9/11 occurred, and was stuck in Nigeria for a week because you couldn't fly out of Nigeria. So as soon as I could, I came home. So basically the story is I was living in Nigeria during 9/11. So those are my three stories. So if you think, okay, one of them, two of them are true, one of them is false. If you think the change of majors is the true one, raise your hand. Raise your electronic hand. Don't be shy. Okay, and I'm going to write down how many people thought it was true. By the way, if you get all three right from the three people, you win a valuable prize. And that is our respect that you were a good guesser. Equals. Anyone else? We have 10 people that say true. Is there anyone else that we didn't get to count? All right, I'll put T equals 10. If you think the Mother Teresa story was true, well, lower your hands. I think I can lower them for you. Now go ahead, lower your hands. And of course, you can only vote. Well, I guess, no, never mind. You can vote. Okay. All right. So the next one is Mother Teresa. Do you think that is true? If so, raise your electronic hands. Anyone else? We only have one. Wow, you guys are. Oh, I see someone did a wave, so I'm going to say 2 trues. And if you think I lived in Nigeria during 9/11, raise your hand. We have 1. Oh. Wow. A lot of people think that one. T equals 12. Okay, so I will tell you which ones are true now. And remember this about me in the future. Isn't that the guy that lived in Nigeria during 9/11? And the answer is yes, I did live in Nigeria during 9/11. Then 10 of you said the change majors was true. And the answer is that is false. I did, in fact, get a 0 on the math test, and I did get an A on the poli-sci test without ever going to class. But I did not become a poli-sci major, I became a drama major. So, and usually when I tell people my major was in drama, they go, "Oh, that explains it." Okay. Mother Teresa, I did in fact have an argument with Mother Teresa, and I'm very proud of that because I figure it's really unusual. And what it is I was working for a company that did uh, video distribution internationally. And Mother Teresa's network, I can't remember what it's called. It's a Catholic network, obviously, was shared a satellite transponder with the Playboy channel. And I didn't like that. So I got a call from the translator and I heard her in the background arguing. I couldn't understand because I certainly don't speak the language, but the translator was telling me, that she demanded that we put her on a different transponder because after all, and so on and so forth. And I said, we can't do it. And she was really mad. You could hear her yelling in the background, and the call ended. So I'm also the guy that had an argument with Mother Teresa. So now you know me, so to speak. So there's a couple hands up. Deborah, do you have a question, or you're welcome to ask a question? Deborah, your hand's up. Is there something you want to say? Oh, okay. Well, lower your hand. Okay. I see Howard. Howard, do you want to go next?
Okay, I will.
Okay.
Okay, I'm Howard Egerman, the current secretary, and I was born in the same place as our beloved vice president, Kamala Harris, Oakland, California. And I'm younger than Joe Biden, but I think almost everybody is, but older than Donald Trump. I was of draft
Is
age.
that one of three? Is that one of three?
What? Oh,
Well, you have three things to.
yeah, that's the first one.
Okay. Okay.
Second one, I was also a baby boomer like Mike, and I took my physical. I was drafted in Oakland, 1515 Clay Street, and passed. So I ended up going into the Navy, and in boot camp in San Diego, at the rifle range, I scored 10 points out of 200, and I qualified. My third item is this. I like to watch old movies on Turner Classic Films, and I always like watching some of the films in which my mom's cousin appeared. And one of his best roles, most famous roles, was in Casablanca.
Huh.
And those are my three.
Okay, very good. So now are two true and one false, or two false and one true?
True, and one false.
Two true. Okay, so if you believe that that Howard was born in Oakland and is older than what, dirt?
Donald Trump.
Yeah. Then raise your electronic hand. Anyone else? We have, well, yeah, it's still going up. All right. Shall we cut it off there? Or are there more people coming? Oh, somebody changed their mind and didn't think it was true. Okay, so true equals 14. Actually 15, because I don't know, but that sounded true to me. Okay, lower your hands, everybody. If you think that he got 10 points out of 200 in Navy riflery and qualified, do you think that's true? Raise your hand. Anybody else? Okay. True equals 4. If you think that his mom's cousin, which would be your second cousin,
Mm-hmm.
was in Casablanca, do you think that was true? We got 12. Oh, that's going, still going up. Okay. All those who wish to vote, please vote. I guess we don't have to do that because we're not having business in this meeting. Okay, so that's 14. Whoop, dropping, it's dropping. Okay, we'll put it down as 12. So it looks like people think Oakland and the old movies with his second cousin are true. You want to go through them one at a time and just give us a true or false and maybe a short explanation? So the Oakland, born in Oakland one, what can you tell us about that, Howard? Is it true?
Okay. No, it's not true in San Francisco because this is right at the end of World War II, and my dad was at Hunters Point. So I was born in San Francisco. I always asked my mom, why wasn't I born in Oakland? And she said to me, it was a very foggy night and the stork got lost on the Bay Bridge. And I'm a couple of months younger than Donald Trump. So I'm younger than both Trump and Biden, which is a good thing to be, I guess. But anyway.
All right, so that's false. So the other two are true, apparently, right?
Right. My mom's cousin's named Dan Seymour, and he played, if you watch the movie, there's a doorman in Casablanca. He's an Arab, his name, I think it's Ahmed. Well, anyway, that's Dan Seymour. That is our cousin's name when he was born, was Seymour Katz. He started in burlesque. He has a bigger role in Key Largo, which he plays Angel, who gets blown out by Edward G. Robinson. So anyway, he was the actor in our family in a bunch of Bogart movies, including To Have and Have Not. He's the police chief in that movie too. So,
tell us about the Navy and how 10 out of 200 is
right.
passing.
What happened is this: in 1968, all grad students had to take military physical. Both Donald Trump and Joe Biden failed theirs, but they didn't go to Oakland. Oakland was where you went in Northern California. I went to Oakland and I passed, and I tried to figure out what's the service in which I have least likelihood of getting killed. And that was the Navy. And at that time, all they did was need bodies. So I passed the swimming test because I did not drown. You went in the pool, you got out of the pool. If you didn't drown, you passed the swimming test. Well, for the rifle range, we don't have to shoot. So I scored like 10 out of 200, and I qualified. All they said was, you're not gunners who make material. So I was a clerk, I was a yeoman. So that's basically what I did. So I survived, the Navy survived, and I survived. And that's one reason why I'm really glad our chair is from San Diego, because that's where I started my government career. And I worked for the government since that time. So this is only my 51st actual year of work. With the Navy, it's 55, but who's counting? Anyway,
All right, so now you know Howard a little better, or better. You know Howard well, I guess. He's the guy that scored 10 out of 200 and still passed. Next up, Deborah, is your hand left over up, or do you have a question?
No, I wanted to go next.
Oh, you have 3 things?
I do.
Okay, but let's go with Carol first, and then we'll come to you. And Donna, your hand was up. Something you want to say? No? Okay. So go ahead, Carol. We'll do your 3,
Okay.
then we'll do Deborah.
I don't have long stories the way you guys do. Just more like personal confessions, like I didn't learn to cook for much of my adult life because we ate most of the time at my father-in-law's restaurant in San Francisco. So there really was no need to do that. But then he moved to Mendocino. Things got dicey after that. It took me 25 years to graduate from college because I kept changing my major. And then when I was on radio in Washington, D.C. back in the 60s, I was contacted by Voice of America. They decided that if they played the music we were playing, the alternate rock hippie, that it would make the Russian youth become dissenters as well. So they asked me for my playlist for the Voice of America show that they were having there.
That was only 2 though, wasn't it?
Was that only 2?
Okay, what I have is You Don't Cook,
And radio.
25 years to graduate, and was the on radio the 3rd one?
Yes.
Ah, okay, that's why. All right. So if you think that, and is it 2 truths and a false, or 2 falses and a true?
I'm not telling.
Okay, you don't have to. So how many people think that the fact that Carol doesn't cook, which explains a lot about some of our meetings, how many of you believe that that is the true one? Raise your hand. Okay, we're up to 10 and it's slowing down. Okay, I'm going to put down 10. And how many think the 25 years to graduate is true? Yeah, lower your hand if you don't. Someone put an hourglass up. I don't think that can be counted. Okay, we're still climbing up. 2 equals. Okay, we have 5 there. And how many think that she was on the radio? We're at 9 and it seems to have slowed down. Yes, we'll put down 9. So the consensus of the group is that it's true that you don't cook. It's true that you were on the radio, and it's probably false that it took 25 years to graduate. Is that correct?
Well, it did take me 25 years to graduate. I wish somebody had told me that my major wasn't that important. Well, and I mean, that's really true. And I graduated from Humboldt State. My counselor at Humboldt State, I went in, when it was at 22 years, and he just fell off his chair, and he said, even at Humboldt, I never thought I'd hear this. So anyway,
So do you cook is the question.
it's true. Because it's false and true. It's true I do not cook, but the reason is because my husband was a great cook, not because we were eating at his dad's restaurant.
So that one is a false.
Okay.
Okay.
Then
radio one, that was a good story. I hope it's true.
In part. What happened was we contacted the Voice of America with that proposal. And they said, well, you're not going to pass any of the security exam tests, but, can you contribute? And so for about a year and a half, this really sweet young man came to my office once a week and picked up my playlist. And it was the thrill of my week. He was such a doll. And I think he must have been about 14, but I'm not being, it wasn't a sexual thing. It was just that he was so young and charming, and I could see a future for this kid. So yes, my playlists were going to the Voice of America, but I wasn't he was one of the DJs on the Voice of America show, but he was doing that outside of their knowledge, I think.
Okay. Deborah, we're a half hour into the meeting. Would you mind if we put you down to be the first one to go at the next meeting, which is in December?
That works fine for me.
Okay, very good. In that case, how many of you, raise your hand, got all three right?
All three of what?
All three people right.
Oh,
It looks like nobody.
oh.
Okay, well, that's interesting. How many of you think we ought to do this again because it's a fun thing to do and we get to know people a little bit better? I see a thumb up.
Oh.
Okay, looks like we're at 10 so far, 11. They say that even where it is, which is at 10, that is a, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So we'll do that. And now it's time to move on to the rest of our program. And to do that, I would like to introduce Donna Smith. And Donna Smith is someone I've known for a long time through PDA, Progressive Democrats of America. And PDA had a meeting last Sunday that theoretically was the same. Well, wait a minute. Angelica, your hand is up? Or is it left over? Ah, okay. And Janie, is that also true of you? Okay. They had a meeting that theoretically was the same as our meeting here. And what happened was it was supposed to be, kind of comforting everyone. And it ended up going 3.5 hours of people complaining and finger pointing and whose blame is it and all that kind of stuff. We don't want to do that. So in order to introduce it, I can tell you that Donna Smith introduced it last week and she did a great job, but the meeting deteriorated. So I guess it's kind of up to me to make sure the meeting doesn't deteriorate. So Donna, you want to take it over and get us started?
Yeah, thanks. And thanks very much, Mike. And thanks to everybody on the Senior Caucus for allowing me to talk with you today. And I loved the game you just played.
Good.
I did not even get one correct, though. Not even one person right. I'm disappointed that I couldn't tell. First of all, we're now about 3 weeks out almost from the election. And I, like many of you, was just gobsmacked is the wrong word. I mean, just absolutely gut punched in the brain. Just everything by the result. It wasn't that I expected it to be, as some people had anticipated, a blowout for the Dems, a blue wave. I did not think that. But I certainly didn't think what happened would happen. And I was pretty angry. I mean, that's an understatement. I still am angry, but in a different focus kind of way. And I was sad, and terrified of what's going to happen to the country after all the progress that I hope we fought for over these many years, really since the Johnson administration. All of those of you mentioning the years of the Vietnam War, it seems those of us on this call remember many of those years, and that's something that I think we need to treasure about each other, that we do remember some history and how difficult some of those years were. But in the middle of all this malaise and this upset and physical upset myself too, I got a text from one of my grandchildren. Mike's already heard me read this, but I'm going to read it again because I think it frames how I go forward in this time period. My young granddaughter, Bella, whose family lives in Marina del Rey, California, she is going to school at the University of New Hampshire. When she made that decision to go, I kind of looked at my husband and said, talk about going as far from home as you can go. Whoa-zy, man alive. But anyway, Bella is at the University of New Hampshire studying women's studies. And she sent me this text. How are you feeling about the results of Tuesday, Grandma? I hope you're doing okay. I said, I'm devastated and worried, yet starting to get ready for all the fights ahead. You? Bella wrote back to me, I'm also very devastated, very sad. Feels like a funeral, and I'm very scared too. And I'm very sad that this is the outcome of the first election I got to have a say in. I wrote back to her and I said, well, it's time to get ready for some pretty rough struggles. Don't ever give up or give in to injustice. My lifetime was given to achieving more rights, not fewer. And now that I'm older, I'm so proud of the woman you have become. And I know you will rise. You will rise, sweetheart, and your generation will fight back and win. It's just going to be rough for a while. Thank you, Graham. I appreciate it. I don't understand how we got here. I really thought we were going to keep moving forward. It's so hard to get things done the last few days. I'm so sad. I'm so lost. And while I was trying to decide what I would say back to her, she wrote me another text that said, in better news, I'm starting my master's degree next semester in justice studies. So hopefully I can make a change. I wrote back to her, that's incredible news. Rest in that. You are preparing exactly as your spirit and your soul must. Be good to yourself, honey. I love you. And just that communication kind of shocked this old senior brain to a different place. You know, 50 or, I hate to say it, 50 or 55 years ago, my place probably was in more rabble rousing in the streets activity and in the risking arrest and in all those things that were required of me at that stage of my life. And having just gone through another surgery recently and having all the issues so many of us at our age start to have, although you all look really good today, I have to say. You all look really good. I'm surprised this is the Senior Caucus. I thought I was on the wrong Zoom. I thought, how dare me infect this beautiful young mind with any sense of hopelessness. This is a young woman who will change the world. I know she will. And you know what? You know young people in your lives who will change the world. And I'm not saying we aren't still in that fight, because we are, but we're in a different position now. And one that in a way is a little bit more sacred, not in a religious way, but in a way that we can help bolster and lift up and encourage and strengthen those people around us who must be girded for a fight that you now know we will not live to see the end of, will we? You know that. It took us a long time to win reproductive rights, women, a long time. And it's going to take a long time to win them back across the country. And we may not be here to see it. And I saw, Valerie, when you talked about wanting to see a woman elected, oh, some of my tears in the days afterwards were, I'm not going to live to see it. I'm not going to live to see it. And I couldn't bear to think that. Because even though I definitely was not a fan necessarily of Hillary Clinton being our first woman president, I sure as shit, excuse my language, wanted her to be president more than I wanted Donald Trump to be president in a big way. And this time with Kamala, for all the things we all know about her, those of us who are familiar with California and those who are not, all the things we know that you could nitpick and say, oh, I don't know if I like that about her. I wanted her to be my president. I wanted that, but it didn't happen that way. And now as we watch this episodic, release of names, this You know, people have called it a clown car. I'm not sure I'm with that and calling it a clown car, because it's not funny that this man is putting the country in this already putting the country in this kind of a mess. But I also have to remember, we all have this lens of time in our favor. 2 years will go by fast. It doesn't seem like it, but in 2 years, you know darn well they won't hang on to Congress. You know they won't. You know they won't. Because in 2 years, they're going to do enough messing up. They will. They'll do enough. The people that they are installing right now, we all know. Let me give you one example. We all remember Tulsi Gabbard as a Democratic congresswoman, correct? PDA backed her. For goodness sakes, we backed her. I flew to Hawaii as the executive director of PDA to do a Bernie Sanders event with Tulsi Gabbard. And now she sits as the nominee to be the head of our national intelligence. And a part of me went, what? But at the same time, the appointment announcements that came after that were even worse. Even worse. Why Tulsi made the flip that she did, I don't know. I don't know. And it doesn't really matter to me why she did. The reality is she did, and she's going to be installed by this president, probably the Senate, when they get seated. So what do we do then? What do we do with all this anger and this energy? For me now, I still have tears. I still get angry when I hear some of these things. I still once in a while think, oh my God, am I sitting back watching a coup unfold? For God's sakes, what is happening in my country, right? Some nights when I go to sleep, I think tomorrow I'm just going to watch the Waltons all day long. Or I've learned more about baking Christmas cookies in the last 2 weeks than I ever knew, because I'm watching the baking shows. I'm a terrible baker. I'm terrible at it, but it's helping my mind heal a little bit from the jarring of what's happening right now. And for me to lend, yes, each one of you, and whether you know it or not, or whether the people in your immediate sphere know it, you have some wisdom. You have some deep wisdom about this system and about this world. And you also have the compassion, the decency, and the tenderness to care for those people around you that are going to carry this fight forward on the front lines. We're just not up there at the barricades right now, and that's okay. We don't have to be. But what we are called to do is to stay engaged and to do everything we can. We know how to contact legislators. We know how to get under their skin and do some bird dogging of them, don't we? We know how to make sure they stay on target with legislation. That's the stuff the younger folks haven't learned yet. They don't know that stuff yet. Not only can they learn from us, but we can help them advance things a little faster because we can share. And we can also be supportive of one another when the policy changes that are coming forward, when we need to speak up together with a senior voice and say, no, not on your life. You don't do this to our benefits. Social Security is an earned benefit. You don't take it from anybody, not us, not the next generation that paid into it, and nobody in the future. Social Security is an earned benefit. We can stay clear and concise without going off the deep end ourselves and making ourselves sick. Because it's easy to do right at the moment. It's easy to look past what you need physically and mentally and emotionally. And right now, I need to know that my love of my country, and I do love my country, not as an American exceptionalist, because I don't think we're necessarily the best country in the world right at the moment, for sure as hell not. But I do love my country very much, very much. I wouldn't have given my life to political activity if I didn't. And if I didn't believe it would work, I wouldn't be on this call with all of you today. It still works. These tools we have in front of us, Zoom, imagine when we were all trying to do stuff, this was like outer space stuff. I remember going to Carousel of the Future at Disneyland, thinking this kind of stuff was way off in the distance. We can reach each other now. And we can reach out to those young people and lift them and give them the hope that they not only must they will change this world. They will. And I don't mean just the people in their 20s. I mean, some of us can mentor people in their 50s. Some of us can mentor people in their 60s. We can be the strength in our community, the wisdom, the guidance, and the knowledge of, look, the country tried this before, it didn't work. We need to move on. So have all those, the bad, the negative. I know I do. I've cried more times than I can say. I've put my head in my hands when I read news on my iPad. I think, oh God, really? When Dr. Oz was announced, I thought, really? Really? And then I got to say, okay, that makes sense. Dr. Oz for this guy. That's, I guess, what makes sense to him. Now, what do I need to do in my own circles to move things forward? What can I do among my own? In my own family, we have a lot of young people in our family. I'm glad to say I think we only have a couple of them that have strayed from the Democratic side. Only a couple, and they're not strayed very far. I think they more don't vote than are Trumpers, which also is troubling. I want everybody to vote. So having said that, and I'm so grateful Mike asked me to speak, I think if you give voice to all the, yes, we need to understand why the Dems blew up, but the reasons are so many this time. There's no one single reason. There's not one. It's all of it. The society became sick in many ways. The Democratic Party blew it on some of the things they did, and we all know it. We all know they blew it. It's a lot of reasons, folks. It's not any one single reason. So if we focus only on one reason and being angry because the Democrats didn't do this particular thing, we really will miss the opportunity to show our power at this time. And our power is in showing the wisdom to each other, to love each other enough to say we seniors are important and we will speak with a powerful voice. But we're going to do it a little differently. We're going to help raise up those younger generations. And when we need to speak together as a group, we will stand together and we will show our power. So thank you, Mike, for letting me say a few words to the group. You know, I always am, I'm always honored because, Mike, you've done so much yourself for politics in this world. So I totally believe that you became a poli-sci major. I totally believe that. But thank you for everything you have done, Mike. You've done a lot for many, many years. And for all of you, I know all of you have done a lot in your own circles. Are you called to do more right now? Yes, you bet you are. Yes, you bet you are. You're called to do some things that we have not had to do before. You know, not all the money asks that come in. Yeah, if you can spare some change to a few groups, that's great. That's fine. I'm not talking about that, because if you're like me, you still get like 50 of them a day. I'm like, oh my God, how many times can they ask me for money? But we're being called to a higher place right now, and we got to step into it. We got to step into it, that place that calls us to be the elder statespeople in our society, such that we are. not everybody's like Trump. That's for sure. We're not. So let's step up together. Thank you, Mike.
Oh, thank you so much, Donna. That was very inspirational. In fact, I got a little bit choked up, frankly, but thank you so much.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I want to mention that we may all be in for kind of a rough time. In a week, is it Thanksgiving? Yeah, we might be in a rough time when we sit down to Thanksgiving dinner and there is the weird aunt, uncle, grandpa, grandma that brings up how wrong we are that we didn't support Trump and everything else. And one piece of something to look for when that happens is if you look around and there is no weird relative there, it's probably you. So what can I tell you? Anyway, at this point, if you would like to talk about how you've overcome or on trying to overcome the anger, as people are putting into the chat, and everything else that's ensued, raise your hand and we'll take you in order and speak your piece. Anyone? Howard, you are number one to speak, and you're muted.
Okay, I'm muted. One of the things that I got through this was when I was doing my phone banking, I ended up calling places like Georgia and Wisconsin, and they were not real good calls. And that's when I started getting worried about what was going to happen. And one of my ways of coping was to say, thank God I live in California because we vote right, we think right, and everything else. So that's one of the ways in which I'm coping. But another thing that I think affects all of us is we know people involved in local races. And I'm going to soon be no longer the president of my political club, but one of our members of our club was recalled as a district attorney. Now, things were just ugly in Oakland. They recalled the district attorney. They recalled the mayor of Oakland. You know, we had a few victories, but it just was really, really, really depressing. So I think one way in which I'm trying to deal with this is to realize that hopefully things are going to turn around sometime. But again, I'm really grateful that I don't live in places like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, all these other places that I live in California, where we at least have some intelligence in terms of voting for the right people.
Okay, thank you, Howard. I think that's a valuable concept or comment. Next up is Jean, but before we go to Jean, I feel guilty because Deborah wanted to do one of the game things. So I think I would like her to go next, and then we'll go to Jean.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Michael. First I'm going to give a DNC report, and then I'm going to talk about how I'm coping. Okay, Rusty had the DNC members. We met on Wednesday to discuss a lot like what we're doing here, to vent a little, to talk about what went well, because some things did go well. And because I know the DNC members gave 100+%. I live in Orange County and Mission Viejo. I think every single one of the DNC members came to Orange County, Riverside, San Diego County. They really got out there. But one thing we realized that we need to have year-round organizing, because we need to start now for 2 years. And what's coming up in February, January, February, is we're going to meet. The DNC members are going to meet. I understand we'll probably be in DC. And we are going to pick our new chair. If Kamala Harris had won, then she would pick the chair. But now that she hasn't, DNC members pick the chair. So we're starting to get calls and so forth. A few of the people that have thrown their hat in the ring are Ken Martin from Minnesota, Ben, and I can't think of his last name, from Wisconsin, and Martin O'Malley. I'm sure there'll be more. besides the chair, we vote for, I think, a couple of the vice chairs and the secretary, which is a big one. We will be meeting, it looks like, January 30th to February 1st, and that will be when we vote for this new chair. One of the things that Rusty talked about was the need for us to go on a listening tour. And I was so happy to hear this, because when I ran for D&T 4 years ago, that was one of my top priorities, that we needed to get out more into the communities where people are and listen to them. We could do it through our central committees and even Democratic-like clubs and so forth. But right now there is a committee and they're meeting, and we're figuring out how we are going to implement that. So I'm very excited about it. As a few of you have already mentioned, it's been hard. Michael and I were at the convention. It was one of the most magical weeks of my life. And I'm sure Michael will pretty much say the same thing. It was the energy, the love, the joy, everything was there. I thought we were unstoppable. And so when we lost, it hit me really hard. And my family's been concerned, but I'm slowly getting out of it. And when you have someone nominate some of those horrible individuals that we wouldn't elect to our local city council, but now they're at the national level, that is troubling. That is difficult. So how we deal with it is that we need to start thinking outside the box. We can't just assume that people are going to come to us. We have to go to them. That's why the listening tour is good. And how we can do that is by going to these different podcasts that normally we wouldn't go to, different social media. And we need to, again, organize. We need to resist the next few years. And mostly, though, we need to listen. That is our job as Democrats, to listen to what the people need and want. And that's what I plan to do moving forward, and attend more meetings like this, because it does feel good to vent and to be with like-minded people. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Deborah. So let's move more into venting and without getting angry, and giving advice as to how to cope. One thing I know, is I watch a lot of the nighttime television, like Stephen Colbert and stuff. And that's always a help. In fact, I remember it was a help 8 years ago when that disaster occurred. Anyway, Jean, or is it Jeannie?
Jean. And yeah, I will just talk about how I've been dealing. For a long time, for a long time, it's been a long time. It's been what, 3 weeks, maybe not even. But for a while, I was pretty much numb. But one of the things I've been doing is going to every election debrief session that sounds like it'll be something more than just people, venting or blaming. I don't think it's time yet to blame, because the counting hasn't even ended. And so, I don't want to participate in that, but I do want to hear what people are thinking and what people are feeling. And I found it very helpful to listen to a variety of different groups. I've seen a lot of tears from people who are terrified because they have trans children, or because they have DACA children. And that is, I'm coming to the point, and maybe this is a no-brainer, but I'm coming to the point where I think that's what we need to do, or one of the things we need to prioritize is how do we protect those people who have already been told that they're going to be targeted, that we have already been told that those people are going to be targeted, and how can we protect them? I don't know what the answer is, but I think that's one of the things we need to strategize about. I really like what Deborah said about doing a listening tour. I think that one of the things that has happened, and of course is quite natural in any large organization, is that we go along a certain track and it's hard to change our direction. And a listening tour is going to help us figure out who we want to be as a Democratic Party and what our values are and how we articulate our values. And then as far as my emotional health, I talk to my friends and family all the time. I watch old movies. I don't listen to the news very much, although I overhear everything. But although I hadn't heard about Dr. Oz yet, but all the other, I hear those things, even though I'm not paying attention. And I don't want to pay attention because I know the playbook. I know what Project 2025 is about. So I figure by the time January 20th comes around, we'll have a better idea of where we're going to be in the next 4 years. And as somebody, I forget who already mentioned, we're going to have some better results in 2026 because everybody is going to be so disgusted with the disaster that our country has become. Of course, by then the damage will have been done, but what can we do? It is what it is. So thank you for listening.
All right, thank you very much. I also, part of what you said was talking about it's too early to start venting, but it's also too early, I think, to be making plans. I think we need to make sure that we have shed the anger and start making plans on what to do soon, but once we can do it with our heads clear. After the meeting last week, I got a call from some guy who attended that meeting, and he said, I've decided after, hearing people that I think we should start a revolution. And how do I go about, Mike, starting a revolution? I thought, I talked him down, and then he called me the next day to tell me that he bought a gun. So we need to be careful about that, I guess. Val, your hand was next. Have you lowered it or you want to speak?
I had my hand up, but my husband was making a lot of noise in the background. So
Okay.
I think I wanted just to say that the campaign was incredible in Mendocino County. There was such joy and such anticipation. And, I've done county fairs for 40 years, and the emotion and the fact that we had, some cutouts of Kamala and Waltz, and people came up with their babies and put them in front. It was just a joyous occasion, and it happened at everything we did. The fairs, the Labor Day event, the Pumpkin Fest. Everybody had a joyous attitude, and it was really sad to see this all go down with a bang. But I think what we have to do is face the reality that this man, Trump, was on television every single day for 4 years. And he is still on television every single day. And how can we counter that? How can we get our people out there speaking and being in front of the media? Local media is just about gone, so it's really difficult to counteract that constant media attention that Trump and his people are getting. And that's what I have to say.
Okay. I certainly agree with that. Terry?
Good. Just unmuted myself. Well, I made sure I paid my dues for this caucus, so I did. So it's the first time I'm speaking on this. I'm not so much as venting as much as I am strategizing and planning. And one of my philosophies is, it's kind of like I call it the door philosophy. And I've given a presentation on this to a group of Republicans, by the way, up in Forest Hill. and they gave me the applaud. So I'm thankful they didn't use their NRA rights on me. But we've had the door slammed on us. And essentially, we can either look at that door and vent or cry about it and do nothing, or we will find a way around that door. That was a philosophy of my mother, especially when she was fighting against anti-Semitism in San Francisco during the 1930s, and she was a unionist. So that's been my philosophy. Since that time, I've been doing an analysis, okay, of our overall operation. I'm a member of the Central Committee here in Placer County. And I also have contacts with the Nevada County Democratic Central Committee. And, but there's a lot of issues. And one of the things I'm also analyzing this morning are minutes of our last meeting with the Central Committee. And we were doing an analysis of the election. One of the things that I found was a weakness in one Central Committee as compared to another is that a Central Committee runs on committees, but they don't run as a team. And as a team, the team works with each other for success. And I'm always trying to find out what would be successful. And I'm into models of what will succeed. Right now, I'm analyzing one of those models. That's what I'm doing now, not venting. I'm analyzing and I'm researching. One of the things I did in 2022 when I got shellacked during that election, especially in trying to support my down ballot candidates in my geographical area, for which I'm the president. Right now, I'm the outgoing president of the Auburn Area Democratic Club, for which I organized and restructured that club. And we did something that I told them what I was going to do 2 years ago. That was to establish a headquarters here in Auburn, California, for the purpose of supporting our geographical area, but also to support our down ballot candidates at that HQ and give them a venue to campaign from rather than being scattered all around the county. So that was an experiment. Then I put one person in charge of the down ballot candidates. And that one person went to a great deal of effort to promote our candidates. Now, we didn't succeed. I think I looked at our database here. We won 7 seats out of, I think it was 27. And I believe we had 4 of them. So we got the mayor and a city council member for Auburn. We got the most difficult area, Placer Hills School Board. We got a member on that after the shellacking we got in 2022. And I think we won one other race as well. And but the experiment was the operation going to be successful? Well, I'm getting all kinds of non-teamwork responses in which they're not focusing on the team and how successful they were in winning some of these seats that we couldn't do a couple of years ago, especially when one of the candidates got threatened quite a bit up in Placer Hills. In fact, now today's my point man for the second ballot candidates. But now I'm in the phase where I'm going to analyze how successful were we. And the success has been tentatively that the Auburn hub or the Auburn HQ was an important hub between Placer County and the Nevada County area. And they want to see it there in 2 years. And I've heard some other talk, but apparently that was a success, but that's building up to what we could do next. As you can tell, I am not thinking about, well, we're defeated, we lost, we're in for some trouble. I'm planning for our next phase, and I'd like to look positively forward. Currently, right now, because I believe that we need to see, I came from a business of building teams, and the team process works. The committee process didn't work, and it was evident at another HQ location. We were the best well-organized HQ in this area. That's a success, and it's one to build on. So that's positive. Now, what can we build on to counter what's going on? In 2 years, we need to work to getting control of the Senate and of Congress, and we need to think that way. Sitting around and kind of thinking, well, hey, we lost, what are we going to do? You got to think positive and move forward. In fact, that's what Walt Disney said. He said, around here, we don't drill on what we did in the past. We look to the future. We try new things. That's one of his big models. That's what I'm doing. In regards to the listening.
May I interrupt? we still have a couple more people that want to talk, but let us know what we can do if we can help you in your efforts or join your team or anything else.
I'll give you 2 points and I'll cut myself off.
Mhm.
First off, the listening tour. I agree with that. One of the things I've always talked about is put your nose on the ground and listen to what's on the ground. And I believe that's one of our failures. Not my failure or some of the members that I know. But if you don't listen to the folks on the ground to find out what issues are important to them, and if you don't promote that as a message, you're not going to win votes in their area. In our area, wildfire resilience and the high cost of insurance. Finally, I am contemplating running for region director, region 4 director. I'm trying to find out the value of it. And if the value is to organize and build up our central committees in our local organizations, I'm being for it. So that's the other part. End of conversation. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
All right, thank you. And by the way, Deborah, who spoke earlier, who's a DNC member, is a regional director. And if you contact her, I'm sure she'll tell you the pros and cons of doing that. Okay, next up we have, is it Nadia or Nadia?
Neither. It's
Or is
Nada.
it
It's really simple. We have to go back to diphthongs and remember diphthongs. The first letter is what you say, so it's Nada. But that's okay. People call me all kinds of things. I don't care. It's not the worst thing in the world to have a name that people mispronounce all the time. So I'm just a workhorse, behind the scenes person. Except I have 2 things. First of all, my feelings about it. I went to the next day I went to a coffee shop that I usually go to, and the barista said, "How are you?" Just normal. "How are you today?" And I started to cry. And so she said, "Oh yeah, I know." She knew exactly what it was about. And the other part of my reaction is my son has a political appointment in HHS. And the next time I cried over it was when I read the letter of resignation to President Biden that he wrote. It was, he has a job. We don't have to worry about him. He's tenured. He's got a job to go back to. But it is the idea, and his sense gets to me every time we talk, that he worked for 4 years, literally for 4 years. He was there day one because he was in OMB at that point and then moved over to HHS. Worked for 4 years to do things. They are doing things inside to put up guardrails to make it hard. They know they can't stop it, but they can make it hard. And so they're doing that. In my life as a on-the-ground person, the couple of things I'm doing, I think that one of the things that the party itself has to be more open to and about, and each of us has to, is that we're not the answer to everything. There are local organizations working on, for example, protecting immigrants. And our job as within the party is to ask them how we can help. Ask them, not tell them. And that should be part of the listening tour. I'm involved with a number of these on the ground, and that's part of the inside-outside strategy many of us learned about and do. And the other thing I thought of, which I can't get most people to get traction, is many of us have friends or relatives in some of those places that didn't go the way we wanted them to go. And those people, I did this with one friend, called them and said, "Okay, I'm in California, you're in Missouri. How can I help you get done what you need to get done?" And we talked a long time and figured out some connections that could be made It was kind of an analytical conversation with a colleague, an old friend from there. I've lived in a lot of places, so I have friends scattered. And I think that's also part of our listening, is hearing how we, the party, can help, not do, not tell, but help. And hear what people want us to do, both locally and across the country if we have contacts across the country.
Okay, thank you very much. And if I may, even though I'm not a religious person, I say amen to what you just said. Next up, we have Lori.
Yeah, this has been a crazy campaign, and I'm lucky because I'm involved in I have a local club. I'm a co-chair, and I'm also on the central committee. And we've been pretty lucky with our campaign for our county candidates. But it was just really once Kamala was announced as a candidate, it was just crazy. People were calling our headquarters. We have a headquarters in San Luis Obispo. They were just calling, they wanted signs, and we just sold out signs. Like, we couldn't keep signs in. We had orders and orders. We just kept them in all the time. Our Labor Day barbecue, that's our big fundraiser every year. And it was unbelievable how many people came to that. We sold out. We've never sold out the Labor Day barbecue that I can remember. And our club, our little club, our thing is we always bring desserts. And we always have a dessert booth. And our members just make the desserts. And it comes with your meal. So when we were sitting at the booth that day, and people would come and they would, pull out their money. I'm like, no, this comes with your meal. Like, oh no, we made like $400. It's like, we never made money. So it was unbelievable how excited people were. And the convention was great. And I don't know, I've always worked every campaign, and I don't know, I just was godsmacked with all this anyway, but we really worked hard. And I'm not really sure because I called all over the country, and I know we need to listen to people, but when people say that they voted for Trump because of prices and they thought he would do something with the economy, I don't really understand. And like President Obama said, the economy that Trump said he was so great at, he inherited that economy from President Obama. And then he ran it into the ground because he destroyed the economy because he didn't handle COVID. And then the economy is, I don't know, he's going to destroy everything. And he's just a terrible person. And the fact that he had an insurrection, I just don't know why that is, and I think Kamala ran a wonderful campaign. And I don't know where else she could be. I mean, whatever she did wasn't enough, what people said. And I think, and then when people said, oh, we're not there for the working man, and I'm like, working people. And I'm like, really? Sherrod Brown's not there for the working people. John Tester isn't there for the working people. Bob Casey isn't. I mean, these are more blue collar candidates than you're ever going to get. So that really irritates me. So a lot of these people that voted for Trump, they wanted to vote for Trump. I don't know why they wanted to vote for Trump, but they wanted to vote for him, and they wanted a reason to vote for him. And yes, I know we need to be compassionate for these people, but I was brought up with a thing that ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And that was the way I was brought up. And I also was brought up that you weren't supposed to have insurrection. So, but I'll keep out fighting, and I'll support, and I'll be there, whatever we need to help the Democrats. But it's going to be a while for me to recover the fact that anybody could vote for Trump when he can't even, they criticized Biden. They said maybe he should have dropped out sooner. I don't know why. I think he's been a great president. And the fact that Donald Trump, when I hear him speak, I can't even understand what he's saying. But anyway, I just hope we all survive. And also my club, they're going to contact a speaker. She spoke with us in his last administration about the immigration situation, and they're going to speak with us next month to help people for his disaster, what he's planning to do again. So, but thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Cynthia, you are the last one, and we want to finish by 4, so, and I have a couple quick announcements, so keep that in mind when you talk.
Oh, thank you very much for giving me a couple of minutes. I just want to say how I'm taking care of myself is I'm staying active locally. Our local Democratic club is very active, and hey, we had a small success. We flipped our city council from the forces of darkness to the forces of light. We have a 3-2 progressive Democrat majority, and the forces of darkness gave just vast amounts of money for a city council in a little city, sleepover population of about 40,000. Couple $100,000. I mean, just it's ridiculous. But we have, if we can't save America, maybe we can at least save Culver City, and we are going to stay active. For my personal self-care, I'm rereading Timothy Snyder's book on tyranny. He gives concrete lessons how to survive as a thinking human being living under an authoritarian dictatorship, which is, more or less what we're looking at. I always thought I'd rather die than live under a totalitarian dictatorship. But I mean to stay angry, and I'm angry, and I mean to stay angry and use that anger as rocket fuel to stay active. I think one thing I hope does not happen, and one thing I don't plan to do, is to throw vulnerable communities under the bus. We should listen by all means, but I don't know how many editorials and opinion pieces I've been reading in the mainstream media about, if only we would have just thrown the transgender folk under the bus, everything would have been all right. She talked about them too much and made her vulnerable. I don't want anybody going under the bus. Nobody under the bus. We should listen, but don't give up our values. So persevere, teammates. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Very well said. So at this point, this is where we would have normally had Dr. Bill Singh, but he's not here, so I'll give you a break and we don't have to listen to him sing. But I do have a couple quick announcements. One is that if you join, first of all, the Senior Caucus is hurting financially. However, if you join now, what will happen is your membership will only be good through the rest of the year. This is due to a new rule by the CDP that all memberships are January 1 to December 31st, no exceptions. So there is, unless you want to just donate money, don't bother joining until January 1st or 2nd, and then welcome back, everybody. And we also will be having a meeting. The other announcement is we will be having a meeting at the e-board meeting, the CADEM e-board meeting on Saturday. No, that's not right. I'm looking at the wrong one. On Tuesday, December 10th, which is the week of the e-board. It will be virtual, so you don't have to go anywhere. And so watch your emails for an announcement from us about that meeting. And we may have another meeting after that. What we're trying to do is we want to make a very minor change to our bylaws, and CADEM frankly has made it very difficult to do that. We were hoping to be able to vote on that at this meeting, but now we probably won't be able to vote on it even on December 10th. So be on the lookout. I mean, by December 10th, we'll know whether or not we're going to have another meeting. So be on the lookout for our mailings and stay active, and keep in mind that this meeting proved that there's 25 people or 26, whatever it was, people who are in the same boat as you, and that together, we're a team and a support group of sorts. So on that note, I would say meeting adjourned. Have a good rest of the day, everybody.
Thank you all very much. Go California.
Yeah.